Alrighty, here we go, folks. Rearvid's back again, obviously. Now, look, initially with this video, I was going to entitle it my top 10 horror films of all time. But look, honestly, guys, there's just too much gold, guys, from the 70s and 80s in this category for me to narrow it down to 10. I honestly tried last night for many hours and I couldn't do it. So what I'm going to do now is just simply classify this as 10 horror films that are must-haves, must-own items. So we'll just run with that. I may even do different installments, so I think it's better that way. Now, my favourite slasher, guys, of all time is The Burning. And here is the amazing graphic Aussie sleeve here with the cut throat and whatnot. And as I say, this is honestly my favourite slasher ever. And Tom Savini's gore effects, obviously are a big part of that. Many people would argue their favourite is pretty much the Friday the 13th series. But for me, I got to say it's The Burning. It's just, I don't know, everything about it for me is absolutely fucking amazing, immaculate, perfect. The gore effects, the music, the scripting, just everything about it is absolutely beyond belief. Now, the Aussie VHS was actually cut here, not by an awful lot. From memory, it was about a minute or something like that, but the raft sequence killing and when the fingers are cut off and all that sort of stuff. And a few other little snippets like the prostitute getting stabbed with scissors at the start and whatnot was cut as well. So I wasn't actually aware of that until I got other versions and whatnot. So I have the Aussie Blu-ray here as well. And to be honest, the picture quality on that is pretty good. The best way to view The Burning in my eyes is the Arrow tin set here, which is absolutely fantastic. I'll just open it up for you guys. So yeah, it's quite a nice set, but it is getting harder to get hold of now. And the first time I ever seen it uncut was actually this Vipco tape, but it's not the UK Vipco. This thing comes from Netherlands from memory, and it's actually the uncut version as plastered there. So it was quite nice to see what we were missing, you know what I mean? And there's the UK tape there. Alright, number 2, people. Zombie Holocaust. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Yeah, again, I highly recommend this one. And like a lot of films here, the Australian VHS was cut really, really bad. The eye gougings, throat cuttings, all sorts of stuff. There was the outboard motor scene when the outboard motor cuts up the zombie's head and whatnot. That was all cut out as well of ours. So, the first time I seen it uncut was via, like a lot of people, a bootleg VHS back in the day, and my eyes were bugging out my head, actually seeing all this shit that was not in our original version. Now, the best way to view this is this Severin Blu-ray. The print quality is absolutely astonishing, and it has the amazing documentary on there, the 42nd Street doco, and yeah, this is like one of those discs that you just have to buy. It's absolutely staggering. I've got the CD soundtrack here as well, the UK DVD, and the first uncut VHS I got was the Dutch Video for Pleasure one here. So yeah, do track it down, guys, if you haven't seen it. It is absolutely amazing. If you're a fan of zombie flesh eaters and all that sort of stuff, then you will dig it. Speaking of which, the filming locations, you guys probably already aware of this, a lot of it was the same filming locations as zombie flesh eaters. So a bit of interesting trivia there for you guys. Now, my second favourite zombie film of all time is Bruno Mattei's Night of the Zombies. Now, a lot of people rag on this thing because it is a trashy film. Bruno Mattei is well renowned for being a hack, that's what he was. But I love his work, and he has no shame. He just totally ripped off Goblin's music score from Contamination and just spliced it into his film just like that. And the Mondo stock footage in there and whatnot is absolutely sickening. The old lady picking maggots out of eye sockets and, wiping like body fluid off of corpses onto her legs and shit like that. It's really, really messed up. The dubbing in this film has to be seen to be believed. It's somewhat like a goldfish breathing in a fish tank. It's staggering. Now, amazingly, we got the full uncut version here in Australia. Now, the UK tape was cut really, really bad, but The print quality on our tape was absolutely fantastic as well, really nice and bright, and as I said, fully uncut, but it was full screen. Now, I've got to make you guys aware of this. The Blue Underground version is actually missing a lot of footage, but it wasn't cut because of violence. It was actually damaged. The negatives were damaged, so stay away from that. There is an 88 Films one coming out on Blu-ray, which is said to be the fully uncut version, so just either run with that, you know, hold off for that, or get the old Region 1 DVD, which I'll show you guys in a minute. Now, I've got the soundtrack as well. This was really not expensive. Now, it came from Spain, but it's really, really fantastic. I was astonished. The sound quality on this CD is like, it's perfect. There's no crackling, no interference. It's really, really nice, but yeah, it wasn't cheap. They only made 500, and yeah, it cost me, as I say, about $60 for that thing. Currently, at the moment, the best way to watch it is the old Region 1 DVD on Anchor Bay. You can pick it up pretty cheap, usually about $20 US, but as I said, guys, hold off for the 88 Films Blu-ray, which is on the way. Here's the Greek VHS and the German VHS there. I honestly just bought that strictly for the artwork because it's in German language with no subtitles. It's just the way I am, guys. I like to collect multiple copies of films that I absolutely love, and it's, as I say, it's extremely entertaining. It is very cheap. It's very violent, very gory. Now, some of these films, the reason I've thrown them in there is for, like, nostalgic reasons as well. And I had to put Evil Dead in here. I first seen this film, honestly, guys, when I was about 8 years old. And oddly, the thing that freaked me out the most, and I really don't know why, is when the people's eyes turn white. You know, when they're possessed and floating around and screaming obscenities and whatnot. And their eyeballs are somewhat, it looks like they turn around backwards, and they're all white, as you guys know. Similar to the eyes in The Beyond. And yeah, it really, really freaked me out. It's not really something that kids at the age of 8 should be watching, and, you know, it terrified me. It absolutely fucking, I gotta admit, it gave me nightmares for years, Evil Dead. It really did. But at the same time, I loved it. I still thought it was fantastic. I can't really explain it. As I say, it horrified me, but I loved it. So here's the rubber Evil Dead book as well. Now, I'm told these things actually disintegrate and whatnot, but I haven't had any issues with mine. Or number 2 as well. And yeah, the print quality on that's fantastic. I don't have a Blu-ray. I need to upgrade. Now, another film I keep crapping on about is Zombie 3. And one of the big highlights for me is that not only Fulci helmed this, but also Bruno Mattei as well. Now, the story goes that Fulci was sick, and he only directed about a quarter of the film, and then Bruno Mattei came in and directed the rest of it. So I've actually got the coloured LP there. I've got this CD soundtrack, excuse me, the 88 Films Blu-ray. As I said, I'm somewhat obsessed with this. The Severin Blu-ray. And I've got to say, this is the best way to watch it. Now, I will show you guys. I've got all sorts of versions here. And yeah, look, get the Severin Blu-ray. The Japanese VHS. Now, that used to be the longest version in the world. It had the pre-credit sequence when the guy's face sort of comes apart and melts and whatnot in the chamber at the start. And it only ever used to be in the Japanese Japanese VHS until the Blu-rays and whatnot come out. There's the Greek VHS there, and the bootleggish Bahrain VHS. Now again, a lot of people bag the film out and whatnot. I kind of get it, you know, I kind of get why people say that, because the zombies actually move around in hyperactive fashion and whatnot. But it's just really, really entertaining. The music score is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, for me, it's just a great film. That was actually made in '88, so, you know, coming to the end of the golden era of Italian cinema, you know, when you've got sort of this and Robo War, a few others, you know, American Rickshaw and shit like that. Well, once you got to about, you know, the late '80s, that was it. I think, from memory, the last great Italian horror film was Dell'amore della Morte. I'm just trying to think what that was now. That would have been, yeah, about 89 or something like that, 1990. I think that was a bit like the cut-off point, unfortunately. Zombie Flesh Eaters again. Now, I first seen this film same deal, guys, when I was about 8 years old. And, you know, seeing that scene with the shark and the splinter and the eyeball and everything absolutely freaked me out. You know, as a young boy of 8 years old, it freaked me out. But yeah, at the same time, I thought, wow, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And even at that, it was severely cut. This is the Aussie VHS, obviously, with the great design on it. And yeah, that's how I seen it when I was 8 years old, and it was cut really bad. And again, when I first seen the fully uncut version on like a bootleg VHS, holy shit, my eyes were bugging out my head, because the splinter scene was, you know, complete, obviously. The throat rippings at the start with the cops on the boat. You know, just gore everywhere. This tape is cut really, really bad. So when I seen the full version, I was fucking absolutely staggered. Now, the best way, in my opinion, to watch it is the Arrow tin set here. But look, guys, there's so many versions. There's many Blu-rays out these days to pick from. There's the old Dutch VIP code. And I have some CD soundtracks as well. So yeah, massive fan of Zombie Flesh Eaters. I think most people are. And again, we fall into this nostalgic category again, folks, with Creepshow. Now, I seen Creepshow at the drive-in cinema. Again, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and same story. It absolutely freaked me out. In particular, the crate. You know, that, as you know, that's like the bloodiest segment in the film. And yeah, just absolutely blew me away. The whole aspect, how it's, you know, sort of done like a comic book and stuff like that. You know, I just thought that was the coolest thing, especially as a little kid, that I'd ever seen. Blu-ray wise, I've only got the Umbrella Blu-ray here. I do need to upgrade that one. I'm told there is much better versions out there these days. So here's my Fluffy as well. One of my friends in the UK made this for me, and I'm very happy with it. She did an absolutely marvellous fucking job. As I say, that is my favourite segment from Creepshow. But I think most of you guys probably have seen the majority of this stuff. Now, one film that, again, I keep crapping on about is Deadbeat at Dawn. Now, I don't know, if you haven't seen this, I can only describe it as an extremely hyper-violent, gory version of Walter Hill's The Warriors. It's absolutely astonishing. Now, people do bag it out and, you know, give shit to it and stuff like that, because it is extremely low budget. Now, what people don't understand is Jim Van Bebber directed this film over the space of 3 or 4 years with his own money, and people really need to, you know, get this into their head. Jim had no funding for this film, and I honestly think, like, what he achieved in this film for the money he had on hand, which was his own, it's absolutely amazing. As I say, it is extremely gory, and the conclusion of this film is probably the best ending to any film I've ever seen in my life, and that's a big call. So the best way to watch this is the Arrow Blu-ray. So if you are going to seek out Deadbeat at Dawn, do go that way, guys. Now, it did come in this set as well. This is a really nice set, Visions of Hell. You won't find this, though. The version on that was quite nice as well. But as I said, the best way to see this is the Arrow Blu-ray. As I said, wait till you see the conclusion. Holy fuck, throats are ripped out, fingers are bitten off, continuous stabbings with switchblade, you name it, it's in it. Excuse me, nunchuck fights, heads come off. As I say, it's extremely gory. I've even got the soundtrack kicking around here somewhere as well. And I think you guys will dig it. Look, if you're into like gang violence type films, it's already got you sold. But as I said, on top of that, it's got spades and spades and spades of gore. A lot of stunt work and shit like that Jim did himself as well. And as I said, people really need to understand that Jim self-funded this film himself. So, as I said, for what he achieved, it's astonishing. Now, I had to throw this in the mix, guys. Demons, Lamberto Bava's Demons, his best film. I absolutely adore the artwork on the Australian VHS there. It is reversible. I'm not going to try and take it out and reverse it round, because I just can't do that at the moment. There's the old Umbrella DVD there. And yeah, for me, the best way to watch it so far is this old Synapse tin, but these are quite expensive now, generally going for about 100 US and shit like that. But It's a really nice set. I'll just open it up for you guys. You get the Metropole little ticket in there and everything as well. So, now one frustrating thing, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have this. This isn't an official soundtrack though, but as you guys know, the soundtrack on Demons is absolutely fantastic. Now, if you try and get an official Demons soundtrack on LP or even CD, unless you get the Japanese ones, which are really impossible to find, it's missing a lot of tracks. And it's the usual story with a music rights issue, you know, because it had Billy Idol and Iron Maiden and all sorts of stuff on there. So yeah, the same old crap. There was disagreements with music rights and shit like that. So they're actually missing. If you go and buy the soundtrack LP for Demons, it just has pretty much the Simonetti instrumental stuff and shit like that. You don't get, you know, like the pop songs and shit like that. It's not a complete soundtrack. Here's the old Laserdisc of Demons as well. I actually stopped collecting Laserdisc a while ago because they started to get disc rot. And I don't know, I was just having too many problems with playback and shit like that, and I just fully abandoned Laserdisc. Alright. Now, I had to throw this in here, guys. I just rewatched Dawn of the Dead last night, actually, and I had a ball again. So here's the really, really rare CBS orange variant here. This is really quite hard to find now. You probably pay a few $100s for that if you can find it. And again, we were very lucky. We got the full uncut version here in Australia. So after the tape there, I got this Dutch DVD set, and it has the Romero version and the Dario Argento version in there. And here's the alternate sleeve design on the other Australian one. That was the more common one that was floating around. So yeah, the version I watched the other night was this one from the UK. I'm trying to think who put, Second Sight put that out. Now I don't know, people argue about this, but my favourite version is usually the Argento version because it's got the Goblin music all the way through, sort of thing. And it's just a shorter, tighter version. I just prefer it. Now, just for a change, I watched the extended cans version the other night, and yeah, look, I still stick with what I said. I honestly, guys, prefer the Argento version. It's just a personal choice for me. Got the soundtrack here. The good old Flyboy figure there, still in the plastic, and this amazing soundtrack LP as well. So that is that, guys. As I said, I may even do a part 2 of this, you know, to go over some other 80s highlights and whatnot. Again, another shopping list for you folks, but I kind of suspect most of you folk watching this probably have the majority of these anyway, but I just thought I'd do it anyway, because as I say, there will be, you know, guys out there watching this who are sort of new to this scene and whatnot, and as I say, supplying people somewhat a shopping list of my thoughts on these things. Alright, I'm going to go. I hope you had fun, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. As I said, I may even do a part 2 of this and whatnot. Depends how popular it goes with this one. But we'll see, people. Thanks for watching. Be well.